Hi everyone, welcome back to Kidding Around. My name is Melanie Smith, and I think it is super cool that you are here with me today to talk about another wonderful woman. Today we will be talking about Ida Holdgreve. Before we do that though, if you like what you're seeing here and want to follow along with all of Kidding Around's videos, please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and below each video click the thumbs up. Also, if you really like what you're doing here, please share us with your friends. Thank you so much. All right, well, let's move on and talk about our wonderful woman of the day, Ida Holdgreve. My guess is that you have not heard her name before, and I will tell you I hadn't heard her name until about 2 weeks ago when I saw an article about her that talked about how instrumental she was in the Wright Brothers company. I don't know if you know the Wright Brothers company, but you might know the two people who started it. Arthur and Wilbur Wright were the founders of the Wright Brothers company, and you might have heard their names before because they are the ones who figured out how to put planes in our skies. So what happened was they had already flown their first plane, but they were starting to put a bunch of planes together so that they could fly more places, so that more people could fly, and they needed someone to come and help them build their planes. So they put an ad in the local newspaper that asked for a plane sewer. So back then, planes were made with canvas and thread. They also had some structural material, some wood and some metal too, but the majority of the planes were made with fabric, and they needed people to sew that fabric in the correct ways to make sure that the planes could fly. So this article, or this ad that they put into the newspaper, said they wanted a plane sewer. So they meant a plane like an airplane, P-L-A-N-E. But what happened was, because not a lot of people knew about airplanes at that time, the newspaper agency corrected the spelling to P-L-A-I-N, meaning more simple, like a simple sewer that they needed. So Ida Holdgreve, who was a seamstress, applied for the job. So they found out that there was some miscommunication there. They hired her anyway because she did know how to sew, and the rest truly is history. So let's talk a little bit more about Ida. She was born in 1881 in Delphos, Ohio, and she was the sixth of 9 children. Like I said, she was a seamstress. She worked as a dressmaker in Delphos, and then she moved to Dayton, Ohio. When she was in Dayton is when she found this newspaper ad, and then she went to work for the Wright Brothers company. It is believed that Ida was the only woman to work on the factory floor at the Wright Company, and it is said that she was the first female American aerospace worker. As I mentioned, when she worked at the Wright Company, she did everything relating to planes. So she would sew fabric into airplane wings, airplane fins, airplane rudders, and airplane stabilizers. Doing that work, she had to learn how to stretch the fabric tightly across the plane so that the fabric wouldn't tear in the wind. She also said that when these planes crashed, remember, these planes were not common. They were a very new technology, and so some of the planes did crash. So when they crashed, she had to sew new parts for the planes so that they could go back up in the air again. After working for the Wright Company factory for many years, she moved to the Dayton Wright Airplane Company, where she supervised a team of seamstresses who sewed the materials for the planes that fought in World War I. Even though she was very involved in making sure that planes got up in the air, she didn't ride in one until she was 88 years old. She said that the Los Angeles Times wrote a news story about her, and she did not understand what the big fuss was. She said, "I just wanted to fly. I don't understand why they wrote that story about me." So I think that is a really fun thing that shows how life really did come full circle for her. And I am so glad that she got to actually go up and fly in those planes that she worked so hard to make sure would be safe. I will say she mentioned that the clouds when she was up in the airplane looked like wool. And I think she's right. I have to say they probably look a little bit more wool-like from the top than they do the bottom. What do you think? Have you ever been in a plane? Have you looked out at those clouds? Do they look different from the ground than they do from the air? All right, well, I thought it would be really fun to follow in her footsteps today and make our own planes. You may say this doesn't look like a plane, and you're right, it doesn't really look like a plane, but I guarantee it will fly every time. So we are going to make these together, and then you can have fun. If you make a couple, you can race them with a sibling or a friend, and I think that you will very much enjoy these. So to do these, you will need a few supplies. You will need a piece of cardstock. The color doesn't matter. You will also need a straw. And then you will need some Scotch tape, some scissors, a pencil, and a ruler. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to make 3 strips of cardstock for our loops that we are going to be making our plane out of. So these 3 strips should all be the same size. They should be 5 inches by 1 inch. So we're going to measure 5 inches by 1 inch. And the way to do that is we are going to put our ruler right up to the edge of our cardstock. And we're going to make sure that it's as straight as it can be. So this line should be, should look like this line. We don't want it to look like that. We want the ruler to be on the same line or in the same orientation as the top of our paper. So once it's like that, we are going to find the 5-inch mark, and we're going to make a little mark right there at that 5-inch line. And then we're going to come down a little bit further on our paper, and again, trying to keep the edge of your ruler the same orientation as the edge of the top of your paper. That's actually called parallel. This line of the paper and this line of the ruler are considered parallel if they are the same orientation and not wonky, that will actually intersect. All right, anyway, I got beyond myself. All right, so we moved down and we're going to make sure that our ruler is parallel to the top of the paper. We're going to find that 5-inch mark again, and we are going to make a little line there. And then what we're going to do is we are going to connect those 2 little lines that we just made. They should be in the same place on the paper in the left-right orientation. All right, so those 2 lines now are, those 2 little lines are connected by my ruler, and now I am going to hold my ruler down with all my might with the hand that I don't write with, and then with the hand that I do write with, I'm going to take a pencil and connect those 2 lines. So now I have a piece of paper that is 5 inches wide, and I am going to just cut that there, and I will put aside this other paper for another craft. Then I need 3 1-inch strips. So what I'm going to do now, you saw me, I turned my paper, and now I am going to put my ruler here, and what I am going to do is I am going to mark at the 1-inch line, I'm going to mark at the 2-inch line, and I am going to mark at the 3-inch line. So between these lines, I have an inch worth of paper. So then I am going to move my ruler down just like I did with my 5-inch piece of paper, and then I am going to do the same thing. I am going to mark the 1-inch, the 2-inch, and the 3-inch. And now I'm going to connect those lines, and I am now going to have 3 1-inch strips. 3 1-inch by 5-inch strips, right? Okay, so you see how I did that. Now I get to cut them, and just like that, I will have 1, 2, 3 strips. All right, and of course, I think you could probably see when I was cutting, I was close to those lines, but I was not exactly on. That's totally fine. There is nothing that needs to be exact with this. We just want about 5 inches by 1 inch strips. Okay, So now I have my strips. I am going to tape two of these together. So I am going to overlap this top one. You can see it's overlapped about an inch, maybe a little bit less. That's good. It doesn't have to be exact. Then I'm going to take my tape and I am going to tape across that connection right there. And then I am going to flip it over and I am going to tape across that connection on the other side. Now I am going to curl this into a ring, and you can see there that I've overlapped just a little bit, and I am going to tape that as well. And you can tape this one on both sides. You don't have to. It's up to you. I think I will just for extra stability, but you certainly don't have to on this second one. Okay, now I'm going to take this other ring, or this other strip, and make it into a ring by doing the same thing. Since I'm not taping two together to make a long one, I'm just going to curve it or curl it, and then I will put the tape right there. And you could put a piece of tape inside if you want. You don't have to. It's up to you. All right, so now you have these two rings, so you're going to attach them to your straw. So I am going to simply lay my straw in right there on that big ring and tape across it. So all I do is, this gets a little bit tricky with one set of hands. You may need a second set of hands to help you with this. But I'm going to try to keep the straw in there straight, and then I will just run the tape right across. And I will do the same thing on the back one here. So I'll put the straw in as straight as I can, and then I will do my best. You know what, maybe I'm going to put the tape over the straw. You know what, this is all about modifying and making something work. Okay, so now I'm holding up my tape so that it doesn't stick on my way in, and then I'm going to put the straw down. Wow, I'm really struggling. Okay, I put the straw down onto the paper, and then I will just stick down that tape. All right, so now you have this thing. It kind of, I mean, I can imagine that it looks like a plane, you know, if you were to put wings in here, I can totally see how that might look like a plane. But I guarantee that it will fly well every single time, just like that. Did you see it? Well, I would love to see pictures of your planes. Please ask a grown-up to take a picture of what you have made and put that on our Facebook page. You are just like Ida, the way that you are making things fly. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you have had a ton of fun learning a little bit about Ida and learning how to make this fun kind of thing that doesn't look like a plane but flies like a plane. I can't wait for you to join me on Monday, where we'll be talking about an artist, a famous artist, and learning a little bit more about art. But until then, thank you so much for joining me for this one. Thanks so much for kidding around with me. I will see you next time.